Chapter 1913. A man who knows the times is a hero. Uncle Yu looked at the chaotic scene in front of him, a hint of compassion in his eyes. Zhang Yi is right. What we do is just. His eyes became firm. He doesn't understand too many messy things. He only knows that it is wrong to let people suffer. People will vote with their feet. When the chaos began, they did not throw rotten vegetable leaves at Uncle Yu and others, but instead resisted those who oppressed them. If there hadn't been long-standing resentment, how could the situation have turned out like this? But even so, can Marshal Shan obtain the powerful power of faith? Uncle Yu was very confused at this time. It's obvious that their eyes are full of hatred. He walked forward and reached out to grab a skinny old lady who was busy stuffing food into her mouth. "Auntie, what do you think of Ken Shan?" The old lady was frightened when she was suddenly grabbed by a black, devil-like guy. She thought the man in front of her was a high-ranking military officer and was so scared that she dared not say a word. "I'm not from Cage Country. I'm here to help you overthrow Ken Shan's brutal rule. You don't have to be afraid." Uncle Yu's voice became much gentler. "I want to know, are you grateful or resentful towards Ken Shan?" The old lady only then realized that it was the man in front of her that caused the city of Pre-Sun to become a chaotic sea of fire. She swallowed and said tremblingly, "Marshal Ken Shan is the people's savior. I have always firmly believed that he will lead us to a better life." Uncle Yu's heart skipped a beat. The old lady in front of him was starving to the point of skin and bones. She was probably able to survive until now because of her children's filial piety. Even though she was about to die of hunger and cold, did she still believe in Ken Thane? What a crazy belief.
Why?
"Isn't it him who caused your current situation?" Uncle Yu asked excitedly. The old lady turned her head and looked at the inner city nobles who were resisting and fleeing in the chaotic city. She gritted her teeth and said viciously, "The fault lies with these country parasites. Marshal Shan has a good heart, and he has been working hard to make our country a better place. But these villains are holding him back and closing the Marshal's eyes and ears. As long as he can see our lives, he will definitely help us change everything." Uncle Yu took 2 steps back, shocked by this sentence.
Who told you that?
"What has Ken Shan done for you to deserve your respect for him?" After hearing this, a hint of confusion flashed in the old lady's eyes. "Isn't it our duty to respect and love our great Marshal Ken Shan? He has done so much for us." "Oh, for example? For example, for example, for example?" The old lady's voice became smaller and smaller, and the confusion in her eyes became deeper and deeper. "Yeah, what has he done? How come I have no impression? But why do we have to admire him? I don't remember clearly, but that's what they were taught all along in the news and newspapers, so they believed it." Uncle Yu's expression was a little heavy. These people in Presang City were even more miserable than the guys who died in Tianhai City. At least when the residents of Tianhai City died, their deaths were clear. Instead of being fooled like this, life would be worse than death. At this moment, a loud noise suddenly came to Uncle Yu's ears. A building was suddenly overturned and then fell heavily into the city, crushing many people to death. Aha! The residents of the outer and central cities, who were busy snatching food, clothes, and women, fled in panic. Uncle Yu looked up and saw a giant beast that was more than 50 meters tall and more than 200 meters long appearing in the city. It was a huge white tiger with 2 tails as hard as a bridge across the river, slowly walking towards them. One of the 5 generals of the empire, the most ferocious tiger of the empire, Park Gukchang. When Uncle Yu saw the tiger appear, he immediately learned his basic information through the intelligence system. "Park Gukchang? What a nice name." Uncle Yu exclaimed in praise. He said to the old lady in front of him, "You'd better leave quickly. It's very dangerous here." The old lady was so frightened by the bizarre scene in front of her that she trembled with fear and ran away screaming. The entire city was in great chaos. Perhaps only when flames shot up into the sky and killing was everywhere would the various areas of Presang City become so bright. Park Gukchang looked down and was attracted by Uncle Yu's aura. Although Uncle Yu's body was only 3 meters tall after he activated his ability, It was very small compared to his beast form. However, that terrifying and ferocious armor was too eye-catching. Park Gukchang narrowed his tiger eyes and asked in a low voice, "Who are you?" His voice echoed in the sky above the earth, and many people were blown away directly because of the breath he exhaled. Park Gukchang didn't care about the lives of these people. He walked out of the building with his huge claws. No one knew how many people were crushed to death by him or the debris from the collapsed houses. Uncle Yu raised his right hand, and the huge hammer in his hand rotated like a wheel. "Kill your people." "Ah!" he roared, using the roar to gather all the energy in his body. Whoosh! The black storm passed through the entire city in an instant. Park Gukchang's huge tiger eyes narrowed. The armored man in front of him had already come in front of him and went straight to his front paws. Looking for death, Park Gukchang roared, raised his front paws, and smashed them hard on the ground. Clang! The huge tiger claw hit Uncle Yu's hammer steadily. The tiger's dynamic vision is very powerful. Although Uncle Yu is fast, Park Gukchang can accurately capture his movements. But the moment the huge tiger claw, which was as big as a bus, touched the black hammer, which was more than 10 feet long, a sharp pain instantly came from his claws, a heart-piercing pain. Crack! Blood fell like rain, sticky and fishy. Park Gukchang's front paw was actually broken, his bones shattered, and a large amount of blood and hair flew down. Uncle Yu bathed in the tiger's blood. The sticky liquid fell on the mecha, but it was like dewdrops falling on lotus leaves. There was no place to stick to, and it all flowed down. My talent is very poor. If I had met Zhang Yi, I would have been destined to be a leader of a non-follower team in a small place, or join a big force and become cannon fodder. But he looked at his hands. The exoskeleton mecha transformed from the body material of the upper demon god gave him almost divine power. Even someone of my level will become extremely powerful after possessing the demon god's shell. From above his head came Park Gukchang's extremely painful and angry shouts. "You bastard, you dog, you damn thing. How dare you make me bleed? I'm going to kill you." The eyes of the Empire's fierce tiger were bloodshot, and its claws began to smash down towards the ground at a violent speed. A Beastman type ability user who possesses both the physical strength of the enhancement type and the attribute abilities of animals. This is why they are usually gigantic, because in the animal world, huge size symbolizes great power. The sheer power alone is already extremely terrifying. There was no fear in Uncle Yu's eyes. With the mecha on his body, he was like a god. Although the power did not belong to him, wasn't it enough for him to use it? At least now, he can stand on the front line of the battlefield and fight with his partners. His huge hands clenched the black hammer. He looked up to the sky and swung the hammer violently. Boom, 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 boom. There were thousands of collisions in an instant. The angry tiger wanted to beat the enemy in front of it into the depths of the earth and crush it along with the ground of Presang City. "I'll smash you into the center of the earth. Die, and turn into meat paste. No one can withstand the tiger claws of my uncle Park Gukchang." After a round of fierce bombardment, Park Gukchang stopped panting. He raised his paw, wanting to see if the minced meat had been pounded perfectly. There was a huge sunken pit in front of him. No one could be seen, only a hole full of blood. "Huh." Park Gukchang raised the corner of his mouth proudly. "Dead without a complete body." But a steady voice came from under the claws. "Doesn't it hurt?" Park Gukchang launched the attack in anger, and he temporarily forgot the pain when his adrenaline surged. Hearing Uncle Yu say this, he subconsciously looked at his two front paws. It would have been fine if he hadn't looked at it, but when he did, his pupils suddenly shrank. His claws are gone. Blood was dripping, bones, flesh and blood were all ground into powder, and a large amount of blood on the ground gathered into a pond. It turned out that it was not the flesh and blood of the armored man, but his. The pain only came at this moment, and the heart-wrenching pain almost completely engulfed Park Gukchang. "Ah!" His huge body quickly jumped backwards and landed with a loud bang. A huge white tiger landed on its two hind paws, with its two front paws covered in blood, all claws broken off. How could this happen? Why couldn't my claws, which are harder than steel, kill him? No one answered Park Guk-chang's question, because an extremely fierce gust of wind was already blowing towards him from the ground. The armed warrior Yu Jiguang flipped up the armor on his shoulder, revealing a small-caliber energy cannon, which shot a red beam of light at him. The slender beam of light instantly hit Park Guk-chang's chest, stirring up layers of energy ripples. His fur melted quickly, blood gushed out, and he was sent flying backwards.
Boom, boom, boom.
Countless buildings in the city of Pre-Sang were smashed to pieces. Uncle Yu soared into the sky, rushed towards him with a sledgehammer in his hand, and smashed him hard on the head with the hammer. The war hammer hit Park Guk-chang's head, and the huge tiger head was deeply dented, making him dizzy, and the extremely hard frontal bone shattered, with a crack. Roar! The tiger's roar spread throughout the city, and Park Guk-chang fought back frantically. He opened his mouth and aimed at Uncle Yu, who was spinning in the air, and spit out a raging column of red fire. The temperature of thousands of degrees swallowed Uncle Yu. However, this level of temperature cannot do anything to the material of the demon god's body. Uncle Yu flew over in the flames, raised his sledgehammer, and started smashing things around. Break all laws with one force. There are no other fancy tactics. It is just pure crushing of arms and power. Park Guk-chang's roars continued to sound. He blocked with his tiger claws and swept with his iron tail, but in front of Uncle Yu, these attacks had no effect at all. It seems that your marshal is in great trouble now. He has no time to share his power with you anymore. Uncle Yu's voice came coldly. The strength of these Ypsilons in Cage Kingdom does not come from themselves, but from the power of faith shared with them by Marshal Kenshan. Putting this aside, they simply cannot grow into true top powerhouses on their own in such an environment. However, at this time, just as Uncle Yu said, after fighting with Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin, Kenshan quickly realized that he had to go all out to defeat the enemy in front of him. Relatively speaking, there is less power of faith to share with others. In this state, Park Guk-chang was really vulnerable to Uncle Yu. "Shut up, you bastard." Park Guk-chang roared and fought back frantically. His iron claws slashed wildly like sharp blades, and his iron tail swept across as he pounced. But despite having such a huge body, it was reduced to dust in seconds by Uncle Yu in a head-on power confrontation. Uncle Yu was too lazy to even use the advanced energy equipment built into his body and just used pure strength to beat him to pieces. A heavy hammer hit Park Guk-chang hard in the waist. Bang! A dull sound was heard, and his huge body was almost broken in half, and then smashed into the distance. This time he flew over half the city and fell to the ground with a loud bang. But he fell so fast that Uncle Yu was already waiting on the ground before him. At the moment he fell, he swung the hammer again and smashed it at his body.
Ah!
Park Guk-chang was about to collapse at this point. He had never fought against such a powerful opponent in his life. Even in the areas of speed, agility, strength, etc. that he was most proud of, he was completely crushed by his opponent. He was in midair and had no way to dodge, and could only watch helplessly as the hammer hit his back. A lot of bones in his body broke with crack, crack. Blood gushed out from all his orifices, and he fell to the ground like a broken toy. Uncle Yu fell from the sky, jumped onto his head, and raised the war hammer in his hand high. This blow will completely end his life. At this moment, a voice begging for mercy was heard. "Please spare my life, sir. As long as you don't kill me, we can talk about anything you want." Uncle Yu was stunned for a moment, and then he felt disdain for this shameless guy.
Talk.
"What can you give in exchange for your life?" A glimmer of hope flashed in Park Guk-chang's eyes. He knew that this was a rare chance for him to survive. "You are attacking here. Aren't you trying to get the Kingdom of Cage?" "I'm the leader of the 5 generals. I'm willing to surrender. I can talk. I can also love the Holy See. Besides, I have tolerated Kenshan for a long time. I will help you overthrow him and hand over the territory of the Kingdom of Cage." The Kingdom of Cage has 20 million people and needs a local to lead them. I am the best candidate. Uncle Yu frowned and really wanted to kill the guy in front of him immediately. However, he remembered what Zhang Yi had said. Not everyone has faith, and speculators have no country. The so-called love for the motherland and the people is just a slogan to some people, just like Amitabha Buddha. In fact, they are all for their own interests. This kind of person might be useful if he was kept. Uncle Yu opened his left hand and pointed it at Park Guo-chang's head. There was an energy cannon launch port in the palm of his hand, which could instantly eject an energy cannon with a power comparable to that of an intercontinental ballistic missile. Well, now you should inform everyone in the city and expose Kenshan's crimes. This is a token of your allegiance. If you don't hand it in, you will die. Uncle Yu is not a person who likes to scheme, but as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. He spends the whole day with Yang Xinxin and Zhang Yi, who like to plot against people. He has been influenced by them and can imitate them without any problem. Park Guo-chang was really scared at this time. He knew that this group of enemies was extremely powerful, and he would definitely die if he did not agree. He said, "Okay, but you have to promise to take me away from Cage Country. As long as they leave Cage Country, Kenshan's power will not be able to affect other areas, and naturally, he cannot be killed." Uncle Yu said calmly, "Okay." Park Guo-chang was a bachelor, and in order to save his own life, he stood up without any hesitation. Uncle Yu was standing on his head, the energy cannon in his hand pressed against his skull. Park Guo-chang bared his teeth, raised his neck, and let out a tiger roar. Kenshan is the biggest trader in the entire Cage Country. His roar spread throughout the entire city of Presang, allowing almost everyone to hear it, and the sound echoed in the city. When the people who were still smashing, looting, and burning heard the sound, they were all stunned. Even though they committed murder, arson, robbery, and torture, they still considered themselves to be the good people of Cage Country, and most of them still believed in their god Kenshan. They felt that all the suffering was caused by the middle class who misinterpreted Kenshan's will and went against him, making life so difficult for the people. Therefore, even if the world is in chaos, no one dares to curse Kenshan. But this curse was too loud and clear, and it was impossible to pretend not to hear it. "Is there something wrong with my ears?" A young man with messy hair and a haggard face said blankly. The next moment, someone behind him pushed him into the crack of the city, and he was stabbed to death by steel bars and concrete. A disheveled woman with torn clothes looked at his body and burst into laughter. And that voice came again. A huge white tiger was running and roaring in the city. The official residence where Kenshan lives is tens of thousands of square meters. It was built at a high price by foreign engineers at a cost of tens of thousands of tons of grain. The food he eats and drinks, the price of a bottle of wine is equivalent to 3 years of your food rations. In such cold weather, you rely on your backbone to keep warm, but he relies on pure gas shipped from Europe. You wear rags, but he wears authentic Dio clothes. Park Guo-chang shouted very hard, and it was hard to tell that he was a loyal 5-star general of the Cage Country who shouted to kill all invaders just a few minutes ago. Because the shout came from his mouth, many people in Pilasang City had their world view shattered. What is he shouting? Someone pointed tremblingly at the giant white tiger king in the distance. Isn't that General Park Guo-chang, one of the 5 generals? How dare he speak disrespectfully? But did you hear what he said? Did you see everything here? Why do I feel that what he said is true? Suddenly someone rushed over and covered his mouth tightly. Stop talking, stop talking. The one covering his mouth was an old man, his eyes filled with panic and fear. If others hear it, you will die. Not only you will die, but your family members will also die. But why do I feel that what he said is true? More and more people have this idea. After all, it was Park Guo-chang who shouted. He was one of the people in the Kingdom of Cage, whose status was second only to Marshal Shan. Park Guo-chang ran around and shouted in Pilasang City. He did not forget to smile flatteringly at Uncle Yu above his head. "Sir, do you think this is okay? I can increase my strength as long as you spare my life." Uncle Yu's mouth twitched. "Okay." Park Guk-chang continued to shout at the top of his voice, as if he was encouraged by something. Ken Shan is a crazy pervert. He treats the people of Cage Country like pigs and dogs and commits adultery in the harem every day. He likes men, women, androgynous people, and half-male and half-female people. Park Guk-chang continued to express such views. Uncle Yu actually recorded everything here and then transmitted it to others synchronously. After receiving this, Liu Karen, who is still on a mission far away, smiled. This intelligence was very helpful. The snowy owl streaked across the dark night sky and flew quickly towards the next missile launch base, with Deng Shintong hanging below. With only one base left, they will be able to completely block the launch of the Love-Death God from Cage Country. But this is only part of the mission. In addition, there is another very important thing that must be done by Liu Karen personally. She needs to race against time and fly across the entire country of KG as quickly as possible. The capital of the Khitun Empire, Oraben. Saladin, Olib, and others gathered together. Today, there were several new figures in the hall that Zhang Yi had never seen before. One of them was a giant over 2 meters tall, sitting quietly in a corner with his arms folded, but no one dared to ignore him. It seems like a war has started in the south. Saladin's hawk-like eyes flashed with a gleam of brilliance. He crossed his hands and said slowly, "Why don't we take this opportunity and go directly south?" The Khitun Empire spans 3 continents and is located at the junction of them. They are adjacent to the Kingdom of Cage. If we can go south in one fell swoop, we will definitely be able to take over a large amount of territory of the Kingdom of Cage. Of course, the prerequisite is that Zhang Yi can successfully take down Ken Shan. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.